An ongoing debate across the nation: should middle school and high schools push back their start times to benefit tired teens? Supporters of the idea say doing so will help give students the recommended 8.5 hours of sleep, help them better focus in the classroom, and could even help curb depression in teens. Joining us this morning to discuss this is clinical therapist and our friend Cindy Crane for a closer look at the emotional benefits of later school start times. Now, we should clarify. Good morning. You look beautiful.
Thank you.
We should clarify, though, going into this, that none of the local districts here have pushed back the time. We're still dealing with that 7 o'clock-ish time frame going on. But the evidence is pretty overwhelming that 8.5, 9.5 hours is what teens need today.
Absolutely. This came out of a report from the American Academy of Pediatrics recommending that school start times start late enough that kids can get that 8.5 to 9 hours sleep. And there's a real reason for that. Our brain development as teenagers is very unique. We actually have later sleep time start and then later wake up times. And this unique kind of chemistry of our brains truly affects us on every level, not least of which is academic, but also emotionally and also just from a mental being able to retain information standpoint.
So are you saying that teens are wired to sleep later?
Yes.
And then also on weekends, I mean, they sleep in, right? So this is
that's
the natural
the trick. Yeah, it's
cycle.
also because we're trying to catch up on the weekends. You know, what we don't realize is that our brains don't finish developing until we're 25.
Wow.
So you're like on this treadmill trying to remember things and trying to keep it all together. And you're barraged with stress just for being on emotionally, socially, academically, all day, every day. And it is so draining that, yeah, we just crash on the weekends.
Okay, so how serious is chronic sleep loss?
I think it's incredibly significant for all of us. And of course, all adults will say this is tough too. But again, it's this mountain we're climbing as teenagers. It affects our short-term and long-term memory. It affects our ability to manage stress. It increases our levels of depression and anxiety. It can lead to weight gain. It can lead to eating disorders, more chances of abusing drugs and alcohol, and more likelihood to have car accidents.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about that with John Townsend, is that there is an added benefit of just being fully alert to having sleep.
Yeah.
So what can we do with this information as far as helping our teens?
I think that's really important to think about the various ways we can manage the sleep deprivation.
Okay.
For one thing, we want to help us get to sleep sooner by not drinking caffeine, obviously too close to bedtime, not exercising or eating too close to bedtime. It's also really helpful to have a limitation, and I know this is tough for our teens, on screens before we go to sleep.
Oh yeah, it's hard on adults.
I know.
So you can imagine the challenge that it presents for teenagers who are constantly on their
Well,
devices.
and there's something about that light from a screen that really affects our ability to turn down. And it affects our ability to drop into a deeper sleep once we do go to sleep. So other things we can do is meditate, just sort of get into some guided imagery for about 10 minutes as we drift off to sleep, again, to improve the quality of sleep. And even though it's the weekend, and sorry teens, I know this is tough, try hard to keep to the same sleep schedule that you have during the week within a couple of hours, so that on Sunday, you can get back to your normal sleep time.
A lot of it has to, I think, fall on the parents, because getting your young teenager to meditate or put away those devices, not drinking caffeine, that's hard.
It is. They're learning more about this in school now. They're actually at Walt Whitman High School, for example, meditating for a minute or two at the beginning of each class.
Wow.
How awesome is that?
That is awesome. We should have had that when I was in school.
Me too.
That would have been great, because that helps me now with the busy schedule that I have. So
On another segment, I'll teach you a couple of simple little guided imagery tricks that we can do for ourselves that do help with sleep. But yeah, we need at least 9 hours of sleep, 8.5 to 9. So hopefully the school systems will get on board with that and kids will start a later school time.
yeah, I know there are a lot of challenges with the later school times with traffic and the cost and everything. So it'll be a waiting game. But thank you so much, Cindy,
Thanks,
for your
Annie.
advice. We always
Great
enjoy
seeing
having you here.